Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to Feel Good, Share Goods Real Talk. I'm Siobhan Shaw. I'm your hostess with the mostest. Tonight, we are going to be talking about a subject a lot of us really aren't keen on, which is fitness and staying in shape and doing what we have to do every day to stay in top physical condition. So, we have some experts with us instead of me talking about it. And Jillian's not here tonight, so you won't hear from her and all the exercise that she does to stay fit. But the topic, be forever fit. Can we be forever fit? We're going to get tips for defying age through fitness tonight from our guest, Martin Kadua, and he is an educator and coach out of New York City. Hello, Martin. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Siobhan. It's a pleasure to be with you. Good evening, all of you on YouTube and Facebook and the rest of the world. Pleasure to be here.
And you guys can follow Martin on Instagram at sleeper_physique 360. You got to go check that out. And tonight, Claudia Bohorquist, who is a regular on our show and one of our main co-hosts that come and go, and she's always working in the background. She is a fitness buff herself, staying in phenomenal shape. And so she's going to be joining Martin as a guest, but also co-host and running the Zoom and everything. So you keep all the balls in the air, Claudia. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Siobhan. I'm very excited to be here. And yes, it's a great topic. Martin and I share a passion for helping and educating people and living a healthier and more active life.
Woohoo! Okay, I got to remind everybody that our sponsor is the Dave and Gabriella Daughtry's team, and they are from an award-winning immune systems company called For Life. Martin is actually a brand ambassador for For Life, and Claudia is a representative of For Life and a leader within the For Life team. So it's really cool to have everybody here from the For Life team. A lot of our moderators are from the For Life team. And if you've never heard about For Life, check it out, forlife.com, or reach out to anybody that you see here on the show through Feel Good, Share Good, Claudia, Martin, anybody, and ask them about how phenomenal the products from For Life are. That was a big sponsor announcement. So Claudia, you are a health and wellness advocate. So growdailyforlife.com is your website. People can reach you there. Let's start with you for a sec. How are you using fitness to age gracefully?
Siobhan, I love when people ask me this question because I actually used to think I was into fitness just because I used to go 3 hours at a time to a gym where I really wasn't doing the workout properly. And so I used to look fit, but I ate terribly and I had just terrible nutrition and just was not doing things right. Then I had my baby. I increased my weight too much. So I went from being size 0 to size 14 in less than a year. And that took a toll in my health. And so now I was the mom of the baby. I was obese, overweight, completely overweight, which I had never been. I have a small body composition, really. And now I felt the pain in my knees, the pain. And so I could not even lift my baby. The fact that I had given my body that terrible treatment, not only through, too much exercise with bad nutrition, not enough guidance, and just thinking that I was doing things right at the gym, then becoming really overweight, it actually developed into an autoimmune that did not even allow me to push my baby's stroller or sometimes even pick up the baby. So it was very painful for me. And I had to make a really big decision in my life that I needed to learn how to eat and heal myself through good nutrition, good supplementation, and appropriate way to work out, but I wanted to gear it towards busy moms. So I said, I don't want to be that fit person that I was before, and that had like, you know, my muscles look nice and I could wear a little tiny bikini. That was not who it was me anymore. And I wanted to gear it towards educating mothers that if we don't take care of ourselves, you could end up like me, which is like a painful moment of my life, to say that it was my niece who helped me. You know, she used to pick up the baby and push the stroller and carry the groceries, because I felt like an 80-year-old woman, and I never want any other woman to feel like that.
Oh my gosh. You went from 0 to 14. That must have been just rough on your body altogether, right? Like, so physically and mentally, right? It was totally crazy for you. Martin, what are some of the best types of exercises that we can use to stay fit as we get older?
That's the next
Especially
question.
for, let's say, you know, there's a lot of women that, you know, middle-aged to senior women here on the show. So let's talk to them directly.
All right, cool. Hi, everyone. Good to be with you all. So in many ways, the movements or the exercises, the work or that are effective for folks on the younger side of the spectrum are typically also the same ones that work for folks on the older side of the spectrum. The only difference is that we want to be mindful of the intensity. Okay, remember that in our, let's say, 50s and 60s, we're not going to recover as quickly as somebody in their 20s. So we want to certainly bear that in mind as we're working out. But having said all that, functional movements should be at the core of everyone's training. What are these movements? These are movements that mimic or emulate the things that we do in our day-to-day lives. Squatting, okay? And, you know, picture bending down, squatting at the knees to pick something up, right? Deadlifts, picking up something heavy, bending over and picking up something heavy. Some folks will say that the bench press is a movement that is vital. I happen to think that there's other movements that can substitute for that give you far greater set of results. Speakably, you know, pull-ups. If you're, you know, at a stage where doing free-form pull-ups are too difficult, then, you know, for instance, in many of these gyms, there's an equipment that allows you to bring up your knees and rest your knees on the lever, okay? And then you can sort of hang up in the air and go up and down in that sort of simulated motion. But anything that mimics our day-to-day functional activities or exercises that we ought to be doing, whether we're in our teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond.
Cool. So what about strength training? Like for bone density, you know, everybody's telling, you know, my chiropractor says, oh, you got this hump coming on your back here, it's sort of your neck at the top of your spine.
Okay.
Right. How do we, you know, how do we deal with things like that? Because that, you know, that's bone loss and muscle mass loss as we get older, you know, especially women, we have that sort of flap in our arms that when we wave, it's really embarrassing if you have short sleeves on.
Okay.
So what do we do?
All right. So to speak specifically to the arm question, just, you know, your regular curls would do it. Lots of volume, lots of rep. Be sure that while you're challenging yourself with a heavy enough weight, you're giving yourself enough room to work between 8 to 12 reps. Okay, so in other words, a weight that is heavy enough and challenging enough, okay, but still allows you to get in anywhere between 8 to 12 reps. Anything over that is probably too light a weight for you, and you want to move up in weights. Getting back to the question of bone density, when we strength train, when we do high intensity training, again, for folks on the older side of the spectrum, you want to bear in mind that your recovery is not going to be as fast or as efficient as somebody, for instance, in their teens and 20s. So you want to work in moderate form. Okay, so moderate amount of weights, but you still want to bring a level of intensity that is commensurate to your age. You know when it's too much, when assuming that you followed a proper recovery protocol, meaning that you eat a high protein diet with high quality carbohydrates, right? What for example, lean meats, lean cuts of meat, lean chicken, lean steak. If you're consuming foods like that with, let's say, brown rice, sweet potato, the rest of that, quinoa is excellent for recovery. Assuming you're training with intensity and your recovery protocol includes high quality nutrients, if you're not recovering fast enough, that means your intensity is perhaps too great. You ought to dial it back somewhat. I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but please re-ask it if I missed anything, Siobhan.
Oh, I'll just ask Claudia. Did he miss anything?
It's great. I am a very big fan of Martin. I like the way that he is educating. And yes, I can give you the woman's view, but he did pretty well with his answer. I love. One of the things that I want to add to what Martin said is that there is something that my husband, who's also into fitness, taught me, and it's called the weekend sportsman syndrome. And so what we want to make sure is that people start their routines and they start slow instead of, like starting hard and strong and doing all the things that they think they can do and they want to do, and then they injure themselves because they just did it for a few times in that month, or they did it only one time and they ended up with an injury. And so it's worse if you just do it just every once in a while than doing smaller routines that are more achievable and repetitive. So what I'd love to add is, you don't have to get into a gym unless you're very social, or you don't have to get any equipment unless you really are a little more advanced. So very simple things like, just to go a little more into what Martin was saying, you don't have to buy weights. You can just get bottles of water and put like a little bit of water in them and start doing your biceps and your triceps and just things that you watch on your video or you're following Martin's. And then you can just make a larger bottle with more water, and then that's going to increase the weights. You don't have to get into big gym equipment or things like that until you have the actual discipline to be doing it. So it's better to start slow. And I actually call it the 1 minute routine. So what I did with my clients, when I started noticing most of them were women that were older women like me, what I started doing was saying, how about if you do 1 minute a day? Because I used to work with an app that was 7 minutes, and I could see that people didn't even get to the 7 minute app. And the app is great, by the way. You go into 7 minute intervals, 7, and you go to 14, and you go to 21. And I could see that a lot of my clients, which are older or busy, very busy moms, did not even get to the 7 minutes. So I started doing little videos with my son that are 1 minute routines. And I used to tell them, and then Mateo would be with me, and it would be to promote and motivate mothers to do the exercises with their little kids. Mateo was very small when he used to allow me to do these things with him. But it would be like Martin said, just maybe some squats or maybe some planks. But then you would do it with your child, but just for 1 minute. And I would say, okay, if you do one plank per minute every day for 7 days, we would achieve our goal. And then if they achieve that goal, then I would add another minute exercise. Like, okay, now let's do another minute exercise. And then as they got to, I can do a minute a day, then 2 minutes and 3 minutes. So I started using this technique and incorporating that they could actually do it with their little kids and things like that. So it really is about making it fun, making it easy. And it actually worked with my clients. It was more about, can you get your partner involved into doing things that you both love, or can you get your children? Or, teenagers are harder. Now mine is turning into a teen, so I can't even get them to go bike riding anymore with me. But it really is simplicity, but following up and following consistently doing those 5 to 6 workouts per week to eventually getting to where we need to, which is 30 or 45. I don't know, Martin was doing a talk on that, I think, the other day, which is 30 minutes is not enough anymore. He did a talk with me on that. It really has to be more than 45 according to the science. And so to be able to get to those 45 minutes a day that we need, we really have to start somewhere. So that's my input on that.
Well, yeah, Martin, do we have to do 45 minutes a day of exercise? Does it have to be high cardio? Can it just be strength training, or just like I work in agriculture, right? So when I'm out in the field and there's food growing going on, there's a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of bending and squats and up and down, but it also, you need to eat more. So I found that I would get stronger, but I wouldn't necessarily get leaner because I was eating so much food to deal with the amount of effort I was putting into 8 hours or something out in the farm, right? Whereas with Growing to Give, I'm a little bit more now, at a desk. And so I've had to, I of course always walked. So I've always been walking, but about a year or two ago, I started doing just floor exercises. I'd get my yoga mat out, and which I hadn't used for years and years and years. And I just get it out first thing in the morning when it's quiet, nobody's up. I have some me time. It's maybe still dark outside, or the sun's just coming up. So it's quiet, and I just started moving my body, right? I started going back like I was at a concert or something. I was doing things like that. And then I'd bend over and see how, could I touch my toes? And then little bits, just like Claudia said, I really felt like I was weak. And so, I'd maybe do a few of those, and I just would just let my body decide what it was going to do. So I am now down to, I'm almost doing the splits. I don't know if I'll ever do the splits, but that's how, my legs can go out like that, like, right? There's just lots of things. I'm getting a 2-pack. I was just telling my friends on Facebook the other day that John is starting to see my abs just under my rib cage. I see the split in the middle and the 2 abs.
Okay.
The rest is still like the 24-pack, or keg or whatever. But it's just those kinds of little things that I think that as we age, and I'm into those senior years, I guess we'll call them middle-aged senior years, that we do feel weak to get up and do that. We I'd rather just sit and have a tea or a coffee in the morning and, catch up on the news, and then get into my work and housework and all whatever I have to do, and then go for a walk maybe, how do we get, I know that's probably one way we can get into fitness routines as we age, is just moving our body.
Yeah.
But do you have any other options for people other than being like me, just getting down on the floor and,
and whipping
whatever
it
comes? Yeah.
Well, that's actually, so to reiterate a point that Claudia had made, in addition to the 30-minute recommended daily workouts, it's heavily advised that, throughout our day, we sneak in a significant amount of movement, because after all, it's the way that we evolved. Okay, we're holdovers from our evolutionary past. And as a result of that, we need to live in a manner that is consistent to our evolutionary ancestors. Getting back to what people can do in the higher end of the age spectrum, there's ways, in addition to the 30-minute, I think, requirement that the experts advise us to do. You can sneak bits and pieces of workouts. Here's one way that you can do that, okay? We live in a world where we have convenience and abundance, relative abundance, I might add, because it's not completely shared everywhere. You say, for instance, you have to drive, you have to go over to Walmart or wherever your destination is. Consider parking your car a significant distance or a reasonable enough distance away. This way, you're getting enough walk to the location and back. That counts. Instead of taking the elevator or even escalator upstairs, consider taking the stairs. Okay, that gives you a good enough cardio workout, okay, which improves performance in the heart, performance in the lungs, and what have you. We improve our sleep when we get enough of cardio over the course of the day. One of the things that you mentioned as somebody who works on a farm, getting down, bending down, getting back up, that emulates the squat and the deadlift. Okay, those are functional movement. The only thing that I would do differently is that if I were you, is I'd be more intentional about bringing in a set of weights. Okay, so assuming you're able to do that, everything that you're currently doing, and if you were to add, let's say 15 or 20 minutes of weightlifting daily, okay, I would advise, let's say 5 days a week, considering that you're only doing 15 to 20 minutes. If you had the time to do, let's say, 30 to 45-minute workout, then you might be able to get away with working out 3 to 4 times weekly. Okay, but the point being is that we want to, in addition to the 30-minute intentional workouts, we want to be able to get movement throughout the day. So in many ways, I think it's a testament to your work that you're seeing the development of a 2-pack. If you were consistent and stuck with it, okay, assuming your eating was on point and you added in the weight regimen, who's to say where you'd be in another year or so? And I think it's a testament to what folks can do at any age.
Well, I really will recommend the Detox for Longevity with Dr. Ronnie. Claudia and I have done that, and we're coaches in that, volunteer coaches within that group, Detox for Longevity. And it was that 21-pound weight release from the detox, coupled with, doing my walks. But I really think it was the floor exercises, because I upped the not the intensity, but the reps. So I started doing, I could do like 5 crunches when I started, your hands behind your head and you're going, you're doing the ab crunches. I might have been able to do 5, but I kept at it. And, 5 becomes 10, 10 becomes 20, 20 becomes 50, right? And I'm at the 50 mark where I can go and do 50 at a time. And then I came up with this idea of, I'm lying on my back. I want to do this, but I'm like, oh, I want to do something different. So I brought my knees up as if they were coming up to my chest, and I grab my knees with my arms, and then I start doing crunches. And it was after that where I started to notice the abs after the weight release, the 21 pounds. And then after changing up my routine a little bit, I noticed that's when that little 2-pack was starting to show. Is it important to change up your routine? Like, you don't want to get it. Do you want to stay with just the same exercises all the time? Or is the change in my routine what's got me to that point where, oh my gosh, one day I might be able to put a bikini top on?
Okay, so there's really no one size fits all to how much you want to stick with a particular routine before switching it up. It all depends. I understand. I know that sounds rather I sound like a lawyer to respond in that fashion, but it really depends. Some people, depending on how consistent they've been, depending on what level fitness that they're at, they might be able to switch up every, let's say, 6 weeks. I know guys that do that very often. The risk, though, is that you don't give that movement enough of a chance to stick in a manner that forces the tension that we need to produce growth. Okay, and speaking earlier about building strength and intensifying bone density. When we stimulate, that sort of, we stimulate that sort of tension, we force the body to make more cells, which ultimately increases bone density and muscle growth. You want to be able to, you want to not switch up too often. Okay, so there's a happy medium between being, doing something for, let's say, 6 weeks, right? And assuming that you've been consistent enough, after 6 weeks, you're obviously able to switch up to something else. And it doesn't have to necessarily be something dramatic. You can even switch up the order in which you're doing it. So let's say you start your workout with some light jogging or maybe some jumping jacks. In your case, I'm thinking some sit-ups or crunches. You might want to save that to the end. Okay, so in other words, you switch the order in which you're performing your exercises, and that's gonna force you to perform or to blow through that plateau. What we describe is called a plateau in most circles, in fitness circles certainly. It'll help you push past that plateau and keep moving forward and making gains.
That's a great idea, because I do find that I start out, doing the concert wave and just kind of moving my neck around and my body and my back, and then I get down and I do a child's pose, or I do, and I eventually get to that where I'm trying to do the splits, and then I have this routine that it's like my body just wants to go through this particular routine. So I love that idea of maybe doing it backwards.
Yeah, a good, absolutely. A good rule of thumb is when that said routine becomes too easy, it's time to move on. It's time to switch things up. Maybe you can increase the weight, or you can increase, the volume of the reps, right? There's little ways that we can tweak our sessions that allow us to keep performing and keep improving our performance and productivity.
Okay. So there may be people out there say, no, I'm in good shape. I don't need to increase my exercise, or just people that just want to hang out on the couch and they're like, no, I'm good. I feel healthy. My doctor says I'm healthy. But doesn't regular exercise help maintain your brain health? Because we may not want to lose weight, but losing our mind is not a good thing, so we want to prevent those age-related cognitive decline.
Yes. Yeah. So first of all, if somebody doesn't want to exercise, I'm not one to push them. What I can do is present the benefits of, working out, of training. Okay. And what you choose to do, that's totally up to you. There's no say that you can force a horse to the waters, but you can't make it drink. There's a lot of information out there. A lot of information out there. We live in the information age. If anyone is under the impression that, somehow working out is not their forte, by all means, if they're happy, then I'm happy for them. To your point about brain boosting chemicals that are associated with exercises, yeah, there's quite a few. Norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, just to name a few. Okay. And these are the brain's way, these chemicals are activated when we're engaged in intense physical activity. These chemicals are also associated with feel-good sort of hormones. Okay. Imagine, what an activity that brings us all, that brought us all here, that our parents engaged in. When we've done that, it felt sort of good, right? And so in a way, that is our brain's way of saying to us, do more of this, right? Less of the sedentary lifestyle where, as you mentioned, Siobhan, being, seated on the couch, watching TV, not being very physically active, right? A lot of folks are under the impression that they're depressed, when in fact, what they need is not so much to be seated in a therapist's couch, but rather intense physical activity, exercising.
I wish one of our friends was here, Cynthia. I think she would agree with that, because she is, she's done the detox. She's released a whole lot of weight. She's reduced her level of depression, and she's walking more. She's walking from her house to her yoga class as opposed to jumping in the car. So she's really changed her routines. And Claudia, I want you to talk about a couple of things that affect women a lot. Is our skin health, right? Like as we start to age, we get those wrinkles and those lines, and we start to get wrinkly everywhere and droopy and all that kind of stuff. How does that consistent movement of exercise impact our skin health, like the glow, the tautness of our skin? And
skin is one of those things that a lot of people forget. And we can't forget it because it's our largest organ, right? Skin is everything. Skin is also our first immunity barrier. So it's just so much of it, it covers everything that we tend to forget about it. So there's a couple of things that we need to remember. And one of them is that we're more than 80% water. So we don't drink enough water. Having great skin starts with drinking more water. And if you're exercising, you actually are in need of more water just because your water needs replenishing. So one of the things that is very important as we age is to make sure that we are very, very consistent, because we seem to get busier and then we forget to drink water. We just don't get thirsty, or we forget. Even if we're thirsty, we don't go get it. So my advice, which a lot of people already do, have a big bottle close to you. Number two, if you don't like water, which is an excuse that a lot of people give us, put some energy drink on it, or put some collagen drink on it, something that tastes good and makes you drink more and makes you want you to crave it. Definitely, replenishing. And I have an 84-year-old mom, so I don't speak only for, I'm 52, my mom's 84. So I'm speaking to a wide range of females that simply start, dropping that increment of water, and you're not consistently drinking every 2 to 3. A lot of the times we don't even want to drink because we don't want to go to the washroom because we're so busy at work, or maybe you work at an office and you don't want to be standing up all the time to get fit. It doesn't matter. This is your body's right. Like, you have to drink water. The other thing that happens with skin is good nutrition. So as you're exercising and eating better, your skin is just going to thank you, and it's going to look great. It's going to have great tone. It's going to have just that elasticity is going to be a lot better. And so it really goes one with the other. Once you have good nutrition, good nutrients are going to develop in great skin. The other one is supplementation. Again, collagen is very popular right now. And the other thing that happens is that as we age and also as we lose weight, our skin starts sometimes not looking so fluffy. And so it happens that you might even look older sometimes when you're exercising, because you're losing, that plumpiness that we have when we have gained a little bit of weight. So it's just important to have, for me, a lot of your good quality skincare. For me is Aqua, plus a few other items for anti-aging because of my age, and also collagen, which is super important just to keep that. And don't frown. I say the only great ones that you can have are your smile lines. Everything else is like, stop frowning, be happy. Sometimes I don't forget your glasses. I do a lot of this, and even my friend Cointer, she's like, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, just wear your glasses. It's fine. And the second part that you asked me was sleep, which is very well related with great skin. Because if you don't sleep, you can easily notice it in your morning skin. Like, your skin is going to look very dull, and it's going to look, you just know that person did not have a good night's sleep because of how that skin is reflecting. Good quality sleep is not sleeping a lot. It's sleeping deeply and sleeping in that level of REM where you're actually dreaming. So some people may be able to get 4 to 6 hours. It really advisable should be 6 to 8 hours. Some people say, I'm fine with 4 hours. I used to think I was fine with 4 hours until I realized that I'm actually fine with 7.5 hours, which is what I sleep now. I was never able to break my record of getting more than 4.5 hours sleep, but I kept thinking, I never sleep more than 4.5 because I went to bed too late and I woke up too early. So it really is, again, just like with exercise and with good eating habits, it's choice. It's like I have to get to bed earlier and I have to almost sometimes force myself to stay a little longer and plan my day to start a little later. Because it was my plan. I used to say, I'm going to wake up at 5 to pray. You know what? I can pray at any time. And I used to say, oh, I'm going to work until 1 a.m. And so my brain, but that's what it did. It worked until 1 and it woke up at 5 to pray. And I thought I was fine with 4. So it is really scheduling your agenda properly and doing the things that you need to do to have that great quality sleep, which I think I do now. I'm so thankful. And having great skin because of what you're eating and your exercise and just living a happy life. Siobhan, and with that, I'm going off screen because I got to open the other Zoom room. Thank you, Martin. I'm going to leave you with Siobhan for now. It's been a great show on my side, and I'm going to go off spotlight. And thank you to all of our guests.
Thanks, Claudia.
And thank you, Claudia. And we'll wrap it up here. I just want to there's some questions from the audience members. So we've got Paula Lopez. She's asking, what do you think about water fitness aerobics?
I don't know much about water sports. I'm a guy that grew up in the Bronx. We don't have too many of that in my neck of the woods. So unfortunately, I don't know much about water sports. I happen to know that swimming is quite effective for aerobic capacity. You can improve your lung capacity and your cardio very, very significantly. Some studies have compared it to sprinting. So if by water sports you're referring to sprinting, then absolutely. Anything outside of that, I unfortunately cannot speak too extensively to that.
Oh, well, I wish John was on because he's a swimmer. But when he goes through periods of time where he doesn't have access to a proper Olympic length pool or a proper pool, the pudginess comes back, and walking just doesn't cut it for him. He's a swimmer.
I can imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
And once he gets back in the pool, he'll say, I feel like I'm drowning the first couple of times, right? And then all of a sudden he's like at 100 lengths, and he loves it, and his body responds to it. And he's older, he's not a young guy. He's not in his 20s, 30s, or 40s.
Yeah, it's effective because it's very easy on the joint. So it's something that, unlike, let's say, sprinting, you can do at any age, right? So yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, and he actually now does, he'll get into the shallow end with all the ladies after he's finished his lengths. He does, the crawl and the whatever, I don't know, butterfly, whatever they're called. And then he'll go and he'll move in, and this is to work his legs, because he actually drags his legs when he's swimming. He just kind of, it's all upper body work. So he goes to build his legs. He goes into the shallow area where all the aquasizers are, or the water aerobics are being done. And he walks. He walks in the pool, sort of probably at like mid trunk, waistline. And he says that all the ladies are watching him. And one older guy goes, "You're doing good, dude."
Actually, boxers, a lot of championship fighters, that's one of the ways that they get ready for a fight, to improve not only aerobic capacity, but their leg strength. Let's say they get tired of like doing the same routine over, they might switch it up with swimming and with walking or running under the pool, under the water, and that definitely improves strength in the lower body.
And Jesus is saying he used to work out 5 or 6 days a week, but during the pandemic,
okay,
it's you know, and during the pandemic it stopped. And I think that was the way it was for everybody. And even my mother-in-law, she was probably in her 80s during the pandemic, mid 80s, and but she had been for maybe since she retired, she got involved in a you know, one of those fitness places where they had the ladies could go around to different machines and do different workouts. So it was very social for her. But the pandemic stopped all that. And then her whole like she wasn't walking anymore. She wasn't doing that. She wasn't social that way. It was a really hard time. And I know it wasn't hard just for her. There was a lot of people in the world that it would have, you know, it came to a hard stop, right? And so Jesus was there. He was working out 5 or 6 days a week, and then like it was just like a tap of water turned off, right? He says it's hard to come back. So how do you get back to your pre-pandemic workout levels?
Yeah.
You're now 5 or 6 years older, right?
Yeah, that's a really good question. See, there's two kinds of people when it comes to fitness, right? There's the guy that it doesn't matter what circumstance or what situation life throws at him or her, right? They're gonna figure out a way to get it done. I happen to be one of those guys, right? And then there's folks for whom, you know, being active, you know, working out is more of a social event. So I think at some point it's important to know which of these two categories you belong in, right? If you're somebody who, you know, it doesn't matter what the situation is, you're still gonna get your work in, fine, this doesn't apply, right? But if you're someone who needs a social event, some sort of atmosphere around them to be consistent and to bring that level of intensity, join a group. You know what I mean? Like create a group, okay? If not in person, then at least virtually. There's a lot of groups out there virtually on Facebook. I believe that Siobhan, you happen to be part of you know, a nutrition group. You guys can leverage that into a fitness component of that, and that can be a way where like-minded people are coming together and supporting each other. But it's important to know which of those two categories you're in, and use that to the best of your advantage.
I do think the social aspect of it is really important. Being,
Absolutely.
you know, I miss our dog because I don't have a dog to walk right now. And I used to be able to go out 2 or 3 times a day and you'd run into people, you know, and even if you weren't, even during the pandemic, you would be able to talk to people. So you had, you know, because you were walking the dog, and depending on your route would depend on, you know, you'd meet this person or that person, or, you know, just get to, you know, run with your dog in the schoolyard. You're not supposed to, but people do, right? That type of thing.
Right.
So I want to bring in Paula Lopez. She's actually, she has a question. Paula, I'm just going to spotlight you if you don't mind, and ask you to unmute. And what's your question or comment?
Okay, I used to weigh 350. Like I've mentioned before, I went down to 200. Now it went back to 211. So the difference is not that much, but I can feel it in my body when I gain a pound or so. So my question is, how much is enough? Because for me, like, I love walking. Like I wake up in the morning and I walk my dogs. I never measure the time. I never measured. I just do it like to do it. I work in a moving company, so I'm always lifting, bending, you know, doing all of that. How do I know what's enough, what to do, what not to do?
Well, first, let me say congrats, big congrats on your number one, your efforts, and also on the results. I think a lot of folks, you're an example to a lot of people. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. You lost a whole person.
Yeah.
You lost a whole person. That was awesome.
Yeah. Can you clarify your question for me a little bit? When you say how much is enough, how much what? Exercising is enough or weight loss is enough?
What exercise?
Well,
Like
that
I want to start doing the 6 pack, like they were saying, the 2 packs.
You
You
want a
know,
2-pack too?
I,
Yeah, I know. It's
I want to
exciting.
retire. I say I have a bodyguard to my 6 pack, and I'm trying
right.
to retire them.
Okay.
So
All right. All right, cool. I think anyone can improve their fitness at whatever stage that they're at. So what I would do though is intermittent fast, right? In addition to all the things that you're doing, the heavy lifts and the walking as you mentioned, I would do intermittent fasting. When you do that amount of weight loss in, let's say, a relatively small amount of time, you kind of want to be a little bit more careful, if for no other reasons, for the aesthetics, right? The weight is one thing, and then the skin that used to sort of encapsulate all that mass, that's gonna be something completely different. So we want to be gradual, okay? We
yeah.
want to be intentional, and you want to proceed very, very deliberately along the way. I would advise you to, are you running? Is running a part of your routine? Or maybe is that, are you doing any sort of cardio at the moment?
Yes, I walk.
Okay. So yeah, I would continue. I would definitely urge you to continue the walk. I would add stationary bike
Okay.
to that if that's possible.
Yes.
A lot of gyms, and you don't need to shell out big bucks to get access to a gym. Planet Fitness costs, I believe, 10 or 15 bucks a month. They have a bunch of stationary bikes. If assuming that's not an investment you want to make for the home, a lot of people don't. You might find social equity leaving your home and working out amongst like-minded people. So I would certainly add a stationary bike. I would do intermittent fasting. There's a variation to your point about developing your core to get that
Mm-hmm.
pack or 4-pack or 6-pack. There's a variation of sit-ups that allows you to engage even more of your core at any level that you're at. Okay, it involves sitting up, sitting in an incline chair, but in a decline. And then let's say, it depends on the person. Some folks can work with a 45-pound plate. Some people, it has to be a 35, some 25, some even 10. Whatever weight that is commensurate to your level, you want to grab one of those plates, and from the decline position, go all the way up and back, all the way back, all the way up, all the way back, controlling your breath and breathing steadily and with purpose. If you do these things that I've itemized over time, you would find that you're not only gaining the requisite amount of muscle commensurate to the effort that you're putting out, but you're feeling better and you're looking and performing also quite well.
What do you Zumba?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
What do you think about Zumba?
Yeah, I think it's a good class. It's very effective to build cardio and to build strength in the lower legs. I personally have not done it, but I know a lot of people. I have friends that do it about 3 times a week, and they love it. They've gotten tremendous results.
And the stationary walk, um,
The stationary bike.
yeah, bike. What amount should I do? Like the time, or how do I
That's an
know?
excellent question. And it goes back to a point that I made earlier. I'm going to give you the answer that the lawyer might give, which is that it depends. I know that that's probably not a very satisfying answer, but the thing that you want to ask yourself is, how quickly am I recovering? Okay. Sometimes when you have like a really intense workout, it'll take you some time to get out of bed the following morning. Are you struggling to get out of bed as a consequence of having worked out? Well, if that is the case, then that means you're either working out too heavily, or your post-workout protocol is not adequate. It's not enough. Maybe you're not eating the right amount of protein, or you're not consuming the right amount of carbohydrates, or the right kind of protein and or carbohydrates, right? But assuming you're doing those things, then you should recover quite effectively and quite reasonably fast.
Okay.
And just to give a plug to our sponsor, they have a lot of post and pre and post workout
Yes,
products, right, Martin?
absolutely.
For
Yeah.
life?
So yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can supplement with your workout. There's creatine. Creatine is very, very well researched, extensively researched. The data is very compelling that you can boost performance, you can boost productivity, you can even get improved cognitive function. The science is showing with creatine. Absolutely. So yeah, you want to, supplement with creatine. There's a bunch of other supplements. If you're not consuming, some folks, they don't get enough protein. If you find that that might be your issue, you can certainly supplement with protein powder. There's a lot of protein powder out there. You can supplement with the beverage, the protein beverage. Do some research and ask all the right questions, and there's absolutely no doubt that you'll get there. And I'm very proud of you. Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you very much for asking those great questions and coming on the show tonight. We do have to say goodnight to everybody, or good day, or good morning, wherever anybody's watching us from. Martin, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any last minute tips or tricks to share with the audience to get fit and age well, instead of sitting on the couch all day?
Yeah. If I may, I think one thing that we've learned, whether that be in experience or the literature, the science, the studies, is that we want to be on the move. And this is a conversation that Claudia and I had the last time I was on her show. And the data showed that, your 30-minute daily was not sufficient, we were falling short. A lot of us have desk jobs, or we're living a lifestyle that has become sort of sedentary. We want to get movements in. There's ways to sneak movements in throughout our day. As I mentioned, you don't have to park your car at the nose of your ultimate destination. Give yourself enough room to walk. Skip the escalator or the elevator. Take the stairs. Okay, some folks, they've invested in a standing desk. That might be something that folks want to consider doing. Walk your pet, walk your dog. Just move.
Just move. It's a great thing to remember. And I want to thank our audience for their participation tonight, the questions. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate our monitors that are keeping our room safe tonight. And thank you to our sponsor, Dave and Gabriella Daughtry's For Life team. You guys are the award-winning immune systems company. Everybody who's part of For Life is an amazing group of people, and they have access to amazing products, amazing scientists, and they're doing some great work keeping people healthy and happy. And our next show, you'll all have to make sure you stay tuned in for this one, is with Michael Grady. And he's an energy clearer. He's going to clear some energy. So he's going to teach you how to clear that negative energy out of your life. Like, with the snap of fingers, how do you clear the bad energy that you're feeling, when you get up in the morning or something happens to you in the middle of the day. He's going to show you some ways to clear that energy out. Goodbye, see you later. Get out of here, energy, bad energy. We don't want you around here. So thank you so much, Martin, for joining us. Claudia, as always, we love you and thank you for jumping in. And this has been Feel Good, Share Goods, Real Talk, where we keep it real to heal. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
And I think it's still probably going on Facebook. So we won't be able to have our conversation as we usually
Yeah.
do. So I have to say
Are
goodnight,
you
everybody.
are you able to stop the recording or the streaming?
No. Oh, I stopped the recording, but I think it's still showing on, it's still going live on Facebook.
Sure.
Can
Are
you
we
check
able to? That's what I'm trying to see. I don't see it anywhere.
on Claudia's page? Anything?
Oh, not sure. I haven't checked. I don't have Facebook open. I'm just checking the options within the Zoom,
Yeah,
and
it
I
looks
don't.
like we're still live.
That's what I'm trying to see. I don't see it anywhere.
On Claudia?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, it looks like we're still live. Yeah, we're still live.
Okay. Yeah.
So good night, everybody.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you, everyone. You have a good
guys.
night. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah.
So good night, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You have a good night. Thank you so much. Yeah.